So last time we discussed how habits form the SWOT of life. Our strengths are those habits which are good for us and we are focused on them. Weaknesses are those habits which are not good for us but we are continuing it. Yeah, opportunities are those habits which are good for us but we are not doing them right now and we want to pick them up. So they are opportunities. And threats are those which are again bad habits which are bad for us and thankfully we are not doing them right now. So they are maybe a potential threat. Yeah. So these are the four things: the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Right. And we had discussed what should we do with each of these habits. So for the strengths, we should continue doing it. Yeah. For the weaknesses, it is important to drop those bad habits. For the opportunities, it is very important to cultivate these opportunities and these new habits. Yeah. And for the threats, we should just continue ignoring them. So these were the four things we had discussed. And then the discussion was around how do we let go of these weaknesses? How can I free myself from these bad habits? And how can I cultivate good habits and grab on these opportunities? Right? Because these are the two very interesting things that we should work on. So how can we do that? So basically for this we will go to a very interesting concept from organizational behavior called motivation. So there are two types of motivation. First is called extrinsic motivation, second is called intrinsic motivation. Now what is extrinsic motivation? जब कोई आपको कुछ देता है एक्सटर्नली मोटिवेट करने के लिए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल कंपनी में लोग क्यों बहुत मेहनत करते हैं? क्योंकि इंक्रीमेंट मिलेगा, है ना? तो ये एक्सटर्नली आपको इंक्रीमेंट मिल रहा है, क्यों? ताकि आप काम करो. तो जब कुछ एक्सट्रिंसिक आपको मोटिवेट कर रहा है उसको बोलते हैं एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन. बट उसका ही दूसरा होता है इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन. जैसे कई ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस वॉलंटियर बेस्ड होती है एंड द वॉलंटियर्स वर्क पैशनेटली. पैसा नहीं मिलता है उनको इसके लिए, पर इतना पैशन होता है. क्यों? क्योंकि अंदर से कुछ अच्छा लग रहा है, सेटिस्फैक्शन मिल रहा है. दिस इज इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन. हैबिट्स भी छोड़नी है तो हमको ये दो चीज़ें समझनी पड़ेगी, एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन एंड इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन. इनफैक्ट मैं तो ये बोलूँगा कि वी विल कॉल एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन मोटिवेशन, but we will call intrinsic motivation as inspiration, when you're really inspired. So we will talk about motivation and inspiration. So let's go into each of these. What can motivate you to drop a bad habit? There are three things that can motivate you to drop a bad habit or to pick up a good habit. Just the same three things. What are these three things? Fear, greed, and love. Now fear, for example, somebody has a habit of smoking, right? And the doctor tells that person, listen, if you don't give up smoking in the next 10 days, then you're not going to live for more than 6 months. Now what will happen? Obviously that person will drop the smoking, right? So this is fear. Second is greed. So let's say somebody tells that person, okay, if you leave smoking, then I'll give you 1 crore rupees. Okay, now we are talking something, right? So naturally it can be a motivator, to drop a habit. And the third is love. So when somebody who loves you comes and tells you that your habit, this is spoiling our relationship. Let's say your boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, somebody comes and says, why don't you just leave it for me? And then you feel, if this person is telling me, then I should just drop it, because for this relationship or for this person. This is the third form of motivation. So there are three ways of motivating people: fear, greed, love. Right? So if you also want to motivate somebody else to drop habits, then you can use these three: fear, greed, and love. Now love, by the way, is very, very interesting, because now, okay, let's say my wife comes and tells me, why don't you leave this bad habit for me? And I say, okay, I'll leave it for you. Right now it is motivation. But when somebody comes and says it out of love, we also have the ability to internalize it and say, I also want to leave it. Deep within my heart, I also want to get rid of this habit. Now, it's no longer motivation. It has the ability to become an inspiration. That's why I say that fear and greed are poor motivators. Love is a very strong motivator because it has the ability to move you from motivation to inspiration. That is what also a lot of role models do. When you look up to somebody, look up to a role model, and you see that when that person is saying that, every day you get up early or you meditate or you don't get into any addiction, and then you feel, If it's coming from a person of such wisdom, I should leave it. That's how role models inspire us, and that's why it's very important in society to have great role models. Yeah, so one of the ways through which you can derive inspiration is through these role models or your beloved people. And the second way of inspiring is through a purpose, a sense of purpose. Like, for example, you want to exercise. Okay, now why do you want to exercise? Okay, you will be fitter, healthier. So what? So maybe, you will be, even in your old age, you will be able to do things on your own. You will be able to work passionately for a cause. You will not be dependent on other people for support. If you ask yourself this question, why I want to do this, you will find there is a purpose behind it. That purpose is your own inner purpose. That purpose can be a huge inspiring factor. Yeah. So there are two ways to drop any habit. One is motivation and one is inspiration. Motivation can happen through fear, greed, and love. While inspiration can happen through, again, love, through role models, and through a sense of purpose. So you analyze for yourself and figure out which habits you are going to drop through, how will you drop your weak habits, and how will you work on your opportunities. You can identify through this framework. Yeah. But only having that willingness, okay, feeling inspiration that I want to drop it, that is not enough. What after that? You need some skills, right, to drop it. So one is, okay, I want to drop it, but now next is, how do I drop it? How do I develop those skills? So for that, you will have to look out for my next video. That's when we talk about skills to drop a bad habit or to cultivate a good one. So here's hoping that this helps you with your habits and with the SWOT of your life. Thank you very much.